let's talk about moms, how precious, thank you, how precious mothers are to all of us. But I do not want to use the word directly. So I began my search into various languages and etymologies until I find myself in Sudan. And when I checked that word in Sudan, the word precious in Sudan means LARAS. So that's why LARAS is a word that can easily be pronounced, and people want to, oh, what's LARAS? So it's another word for, it's a word for precious in Sudan, in Sudanese language. So going forward with this initiative called LARAS Mothers is to, in the future, to bring moms together where they can draw inspirations from one another that can become like an educational resource for them in their cultivation of the next generation of boys who will become men in our world. So this particular conversation is actually exploring how we can be of good support and create resources for mothers that are cultivating our boys in this digital age, digital realities, and how we can help the next generation of mothers. So I want to welcome everyone. I want to thank you. Boys Mentoring Advocacy Network is here to cultivate our young men to become responsible. So one of my goals about this is to help them, for instance, to understand their self-worth. Because I believe when you understand your self-worth as a man, that will be told to you to understand how you live healthy relationship, how you become responsible. But that being said, there is a need for role models who will be there for them, providing the psychological nurturance and support that they need to grow. So thank you for joining this call. I appreciate each and every one of you for at least honoring this invitation. And like I said, I look forward to collaborations, possible opportunities for us here in Africa, and how we can project this particular initiative come 2023. I bring greetings to you from Nigeria and from the team of B-Man, and I wish everyone an exciting conversation.
Thank you, Ola. And I just want to thank Ola for creating this opportunity for us, and also for the amazing work that he's doing with Boys Mentoring Advocacy Network. The energy that he uses, the passion that he has, and tirelessly working with the boys in Nigeria to educate them, to motivate them, and to direct them and mentor them is truly amazing. So shout out to Ola, and keep up the good work that you're doing. I'm really honored to be here today. I'm amazed at the incredible panelists that we have. You know, it's great to bring together such marvelous people with such insight, wonderful backgrounds, and we're going to get some wonderful perspectives today. And we will be able to use this information for educational purposes, for learning purposes, and everyone's coming from a different perspective. And it's so great that we can respect each other's perspective and learn from each other. So this is going to definitely be a learning experience. Ms. Bella, I was looking up your information on the internet, and wow, you are truly an amazing person, and definitely an ambassador of hope, definitely an ambassador of hope. And we just welcome you this morning. And our first three speakers, you have actually, I'm trying to find the logistics of this today. You have 10 minutes to present, and then 5 minutes for us to ask questions on what you present. Then at the end, we'll be able to interact together. So Ms. Bella, thank you so much for joining us. And you're the first, and we have you here, the director of the Bella Foundation, and what you do with human trafficking is truly, truly amazing. And so we want to welcome you, and as you cover signs of toxic motherhood in women. You're on.
Thank you. First of all, I have to say thank you very much for including me. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of something that I think is going to change the world. I met Ola through David, and we decided that we were going to be the elite group that's going to change the trajectory of the planet, infusing kindness, infusing compassion, and infusing everything that's right with the world. Thank you. So yes, as you stated, my name is Bella Levy, and I am the CEO and the founder of the Bella Levy Foundation, and also the creator of the Blue Ribbon Project. And what that bases on, it's on education, awareness, prevention of human trafficking. I have created a QR code. I don't know if you're able to see that or not. This is actually one of my favorite slogans. My paycheck of the heart is to help humanity. So how this QR code works is if anybody was to scan this QR code with your regular mobile. All right. If anybody scan the QR code with their mobile device, something they're as their camera, it goes straight to my website, which is Bella Levy. I don't know, maybe if I can kindly ask everybody to mute themselves because there's a little bit of feedback. Thank you. So as I was, when you scan this, it goes straight to my website. And the very first thing it asks you is, do you need police? Do you need help, or do you need a report? And if the person says yes, it is all rerouted to their local 911. And as we know, every telephone, good or bad, has a tracking device on it. So the police are able to track where that signal is coming from. And we have such a greater chance of locating, recovering, or helping that individual. I have a very personal reason why I got involved in this type of work. And I am more than open to dialogue at another time because, you know, nobody looks good crying. It's 11 o'clock here in the morning on the East Coast. But again, that's a subject for another day. I only have 10 minutes. So I think it's very important that we educate our youth. Our youth, I believe, is now launched in a binary environment. Everything is like this. Everything is texting. We as parents, I believe all of us are in the 29 plus shipping and handling category. We as parents are trying to shield our children from a life that no longer exists. We have to understand their currency. We have to understand their language, BRB, LOL, I mean, all these things. And, you know, the world is turning into more of a computerized environment. We as parents, it is our diligence to understand where they are coming from. I know when I was little, when the lights outside came on, that meant you had to go home. And, you know, I miss the days of conversation. I miss the days of families getting together. Do I have a flyer with the QR code? I actually do. Ola has a couple of things, but I'll be more than happy later on to send the link to my website, which is www.bellalevy.org. I tried to make it very simple. I'm sorry, what I was saying. Is this the part that I may interject about the topic of conversation? Yes. So Ola, thank you. I want to illuminate some time to give you a couple of accolades for all the work that you are doing, shaping these young minds. I work nights at the hospital. So between Eastern Standard Time and Nigerian time, we're perfect. I work at nights, he works during the day with the time frame. And like I told Ola the other day, even though we have oceans between us, we are family in the heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the initiative to try to make the next generation a better one. Because at the end of the day, our lives, our hands are in this generation. If we don't mold them, if we don't teach them the ways, if we don't pass on tradition, we in bad shape. So the subject of toxic mothering, and I believe that Ola and I had opened up the topic. A lot of the mothers, not a lot, some come from a single parent household. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to being a single parent, not just a single mother, but single fathers too. It takes a lot to take on the role of a family dual unit to raise one child. A child needs 50% mother, 50% father. So these mothers take on 100%, on top of working, on top of trying to be a woman, on top of trying to be a leader and a mentor. A mother's a mother is a cook, a chef, a nurse, a teacher, a chauffeur, a guidance counselor, a police officer. You know, a mother is so many things. And we launch a mother into a role of having a single child. And a part of them loves this precious being that God has in them. Yes, that's true. But part has this resentment towards the fact that there is no picture. And unfortunately, not intentionally, because she is so stressed out, she somehow inadvertently takes it out on the child, because she knows that even though she loves this child, she somehow feels a certain way. I see it every day where the mothers, not because they want to, because they're tired, they're exhausted, they feel like the world forgot about them. They feel like they need to do everything. And we are just human beings. We're not made of brick. We're not made of steel. You cut us, we bleed. You hurt us, we cry. And as a mother, I think we take that on. We wear that skin of burden so hard that inadvertently, we take it out on that child. And that child grows up confused. How can this one mother that loves me so much can give me pain, can hold me accountable for the mistake of the father? These children then grow up being very confused, being very hurt, and all they need is love. That's all that they need. I think that the world just needs love. So a child that is being fostered and harbored in that type of an environment tends to feel a certain way. And when they grow up into a young gentleman, into a young man, the only thing that they understand is that hard love, and they pass it on to other relationships. I want to empower everybody. Let's break the cycle. Let's break. I understand it's hard being a single mother. Trust me, I understand. And when you're in that point of I'm about to break, don't. Put yourself in a room, find a quiet place, get into a zone, and think about how, and think about how that young face is looking at you. And think about what you're going to say will affect him or her in the next years. A child will forget the toy you buy him. A child will forget the vacation you take him on. But that one time in anger, that one word, he will remember for life. And although it'll come out your mouth and it'll dissolve in the environment, that child will always remember the fact that you said, God, this, or God, that, or, how can you be so stupid, or, I understand that. I think it's important when you get to that point of explosion. Listen, I'm a foreigner. I'm a foreign mother. I'm an immigrant. We take passion to a whole different level. When you find that point, center yourself. Give yourself a minute. Sometimes I get upset with my kids and I say, go to your room. And he'll say, why? I said, for your safety. I promise you. So we as mothers have to take that minute to pause. Even if you have to say a prayer, even if you have to go open the window and let the sun hit your face, something to remind you, because your words of poison will live in that child's heart forever. Sometimes I talk to my kids or I talk to my parents and I remind my mom of what she said. And she's like, I don't remember that conversation. But to me, those words were like a knife that cut my heart, and it's still there. We have to do better. We have to break the generational curse, so to speak. We have to raise these young boys, these young men, to be the warriors that they are so they can take their place in society. We want these young men to go into the world and you could just say, that is my son, that is my daughter. We want them to represent us, our culture, our background. Each of us comes from such a different place in the world. Just by looking at this panel, I could see how culturally diverse, how we are international. We're from all parts of the US and all parts of the world. And we are here for the same reason, because we love our children. And we just love children of the world. And we also know that these children are our future. What type of legacy do we want to leave? What type of carbon footprint do we want to instill? I've spoken with Ola many, many times about the work that he's doing with the children. And the other day I had the privilege to be in his classroom to celebrate a birthday and to see the smiles on these children who I feel live under a cloud of hopelessness was incredible to me. A lot of children, because it's perception is reality. A lot of children feel like they're not important, or maybe they're not surrounded by enough love, and they tend to fall into a place of hopelessness. We can't let them have that. Each child is a gift from up above, from the universe, from God, from whoever it is you believe in. But it is such a miracle have you ever spoke with a child and they show you the world through their lens, and all of a sudden you taste the same food with a different style? Children will show you what you see every day through a different perspective. When my children were younger and they would tell me something, an inanimate object, now I was through their eyes, and all of a sudden I got a different appreciation for it. I'm sorry, I hate to go off subject, but getting back to the subject at hand, we have to understand it is our duty to raise a next generation with the values of our generation. Our parents did it, our grandparents did it. You have to grow where you sow. Whatever you invest in is what will harvest. Whatever you want to put time in, that's what's going to grow. These kids, unfortunately, like I said, are in the internet. They're on this, they're on that. With my foundation, we have noticed that predators have they now have a new playground, and that playground is the internet. And as amazing as the internet is for today, how else would this meeting have been possible if we didn't have this internet? But the predators know that too. Please, it is your job, it is your God-given duty to know who your children are speaking to. It is your right to demand to know who they're speaking with. What chat rooms are they in? There's different chat rooms that they establish, and they pose as younger kids, and they lure and they solicit, because a child's mind, the glabella or the Abdullah oblongata, is the last thing to develop. So at a young age, they're not understanding. And what do we teach our children? Listen to your elders, respect your elders. And that is true. But we also have to give them the tools to question what your elders are saying. I know that, you say, okay, listen to aunt this or listen to aunt that. And the adults know that. And they do. We have to give our children power. When I speak, I know 2 more seconds. When I speak, I give lectures and I tell this to the parents. Have that dialogue with your child. Have a safety emergency word, whatever that is. So if some stranger walks up to you and says, your mom said I need to come pick you up or something like that, have an emergency word, have an emergency body gesture, whether it's like this or like this or like this, whatever it is you decide to do, and have an emergency like a wink or a smile. So that child knows that parent is safe. Children, especially when they come from a toxic environment, they are like a little flower, like a little piece of grass trying to reach for the sun. They will gravitate towards anybody that's giving them affection. So please, please, please look at those children. Look at those big round eyes shaped like cherries that just want something. And when you find yourself in that place of your brain is about to explode, take a minute, calm down. Think about when your child blows out the candles on a birthday cake, and try to calm down and just realize that one word in a moment of fury will mean nothing to you, but for that child, that's going to be a scar on their life. Thank you so much. I wish I had more time, but I'm always open to more dialogue. You can contact me through Ola. You can contact me on social media. I'm sorry, Ishmael, you had a question.
You're muted.
You're on.
Not a quick question. I went onto your website to show the people what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see it. I think this is a great resource. I did put your website in the chat room. I think you should definitely, everyone should share it with someone, because we know someone that may be in danger, and they'll, if they don't want, because again, we're all tech, like all tech now. So this is a great way to inform the authorities. So I just want to show that, and the link is in the chat room.
Thank you so much, Ishmael. Ms. Bella, thank you so much for your powerful presentation. Your vulnerability, your insight, your passion, so greatly appreciated. So greatly appreciated.
And truly an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, these are difficult conversations. So often it's easy to point the finger, but for you to have the courage to say, it's our responsibility. And as mothers, and as a woman, for you to give practical ideas of how we can slow down. And I love the way you respect the woman and the responsibility society has placed on them, and yet challenge them at the same time to realize that we're still responsible for our actions because of the impact that it has on the next generation. And I just love the practical tips of slowing down, taking a deep breath, going for a walk, say a prayer, look to, very powerful. Thank you so much for such a powerful presentation. I want to apologize. I went out of order. I was so excited to see everyone, but Miss Mumbo, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Mumbo. Am I pronouncing your name right? Please help me if I'm not. I didn't see your name, but I think you're online. Our first speaker is Miss Mubo on. Okay, so then we'll.
She's in. She's using Technospark for LARAS Mobile. Hello, ma. Can you please unmute yourself, Mrs. Mobile Koso? Mrs. Mobile Koso, please unmute yourself. It's your time to speak.
So now. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry. We're so glad. That's okay. We're so glad that you're here with us on the panel. And your topic is signs of toxic mothering in women. So you can please introduce yourself. I just saw such wonderful information about you online, how you're teaching women to take care of themselves and self-care. And I love your comment that women are so busy taking care of others that at times they don't take time to take care of themselves.
Anyway, whoops.
So if you
I am
can,
on this WhatsApp, this Zoom thing now. Talk with you here.
okay. And everyone else, please mute yourself. All right, thank you, Ms. Mubo.
Hello, good day. Good morning.
Okay, it's your turn to present.
Ms. Muboko, it's your turn to speak, ma.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear
I'm so
us?
sorry. Don't worry.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I just
unmute yourself.
I go right ahead. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know what
No
happened to my
problem.
audio. I can't
We
hear
understand.
anything.
It's
I'll
technology.
just go right into it. My name is Mubo Okosun, but you can call me Mo because I use my initials MO. I'm a transformational coach. I believe that there's nothing you cannot unlearn. There's nothing you cannot change. I'm the founder of Mo Marriage and Family Academy. Mo Family and Marriage Academy. I work with women, I work with men, because I found that marriages are just breaking up like a pack of cards. I attend weddings and I shed tears at weddings because most people put the emphasis on weddings, large weddings. Where I come from, we spend so much money on weddings. There's a costume, the ashwebi, the color code, the feeding, the party, the DJs. After the wedding, people don't know that marriage starts the following day. I get calls on who got married this week. They want to quit the marriage next week. It's as bad as that. But the topic that Ola gave to me, I want to appreciate Ola for inviting me here today. Ola is doing a great job because the emphasis is on women, on girls. People don't spend more time training the boys because you can have a girl that's well trained from her home. If she marries a toxic person, the marriage is going to scatter. But today, Ola has asked me to talk about signs of toxic motherhood in women. That's what he gave me as topic today. So I'm going to define toxic person. Who is a toxic person? Before I go into the signs. A toxic person is someone, when you're around him or her, for a few minutes, she is going to make you exhausted, make you tired, make you doubtful of your abilities because of I call them drama queens. They're drama queens. A toxic person is someone, when you're around him, she makes you exhausted, tired, and stressed out. You are comfortable. Don't even believe anything. You can do anything by yourself. Imagine that person being a mother in a home, because the home is where you're supposed to be settled, happy, loved, pampered, and kind of sorted through life changes. So if you have a toxic mother ruling a home, running a home, you can imagine the dangers the children are exposed to. I have about 25 signs for how to identify a toxic mother, but because of our time constraint, I just go into 5 or 6. Always give me a nudge when I'm close to, when I've extended my time limit. Signs, so I go into it right away. Signs of toxic motherhood in women. I defined what toxic is. I defined what a family life is. Consists of both parents and the children. The mother runs the home, does the cooking, like the other lady said earlier. A mother is a chef, she's a policewoman, she's a counselor. Imagine if it's the flip side, the mother becomes a terrorist in the home. That's what toxicity is all about. The mother is a terror in the home. The first sign is the mother is controlling. She controls your emotions, your happy moments, I always call them that the queen of excess of everything. Excess love today and excess anger, excess love and care. The next minute is excess love, pain and sorrow. There's no middle ground. They are controlling. They control the very air that you breathe under your nose. And second sign is they are manipulative. They are manipulative. They are manipulative. You can have a, for instance, you can have a family dinner right now. You're having a family dinner, just had one. The next hour, you go to the kitchen, go and take the plate to the kitchen. When you're back to the table, the atmosphere has changed. The mother has, you don't know what you said, you don't know what you did, you don't know. The mother is looking sour, the mother is looking harassed, and I mean, you don't know if a child, you walk to the plate and don't know what you have done. They are manipulative. A simple conversation you have with them, they can pick one word and that starts the journey of no return. And they are abusive. Abusive, physical abuse is not beyond them. Emotional abuse, physical abuse by shoving, by slapping, by hitting. And many children have come to school with scars on their backs because their mothers have kind of abused them. Physical abuse, and there's also verbal abuse. Curse words, not a child wins a trophy from school, you don't even say anything, just minimize the achievement. You cut them out. Emotional abuse, physical abuse. And there's this one that I always call gaslighting. You don't know what you are driving with your mom in the car. Suddenly, her mood has changed and she's not talking to you anymore. You talk, mom, have you seen that? And she doesn't answer you. She looks through you as if you're not in the car. Gaslighting can last for 1 week. You're just in the house working on eggshells, not know what to do. Another sign is they dismantle the hierarchy in the family. The father is head of the household. No matter what the woke people say, don't care what they say. The man is the head of the household. I don't mean head as if it's mean, but there must be structure in the family. The man is the head, the woman is and the children. The toxic motherhood makes the man to be like a fool. She insults the man in presence of the kids. The man cannot say anything, cannot do anything, cannot contribute to the house. They talk about toxic masculinity. There's also toxic femininity. That woman, she dismantles the family hierarchy by doing things that will make the man look small and unimportant for the kids. She badmouths him. If she happens to be the one with a heavier pulse, for instance, she makes man feel important. She doesn't, family events, she doesn't inform him, and she makes him like a fool in front of the in-laws. That's what they do. And I always say that they invade the boundaries of the children. Every child, you must have boundaries in the home. She invades the boundaries. She invades she belittles your emotions. When you're hurt and you've told her things in private, she exposes those things when you are just having your fun. Imagine a teenager now, a child of 18, it's a teenager. She told you about her boyfriend troubles, problems, and you expose such things when she's playing with her friends. She exposes family things that I have shared with her in private. She exposes them to make you look cheap, unloved, to shame you. They also delight in body shaming as well. If a child is thin, slim, child is on the big side, they use such words. You eat too much. You're always eating. I can't hear you. Is that a problem?
No, you're doing very well.
I just go right on. Public shaming, fat shaming. Okay. I call that public humiliation. They humiliate you publicly, judge you critically, and they kind of use those things. children from such homes, if you ask me, they are going to pass on the culture of toxicity in their relationships as well. Because such mothers also inherited this toxicity from their parents as well. It's a chain and it must be broken. That's what we do at our academy. We invite such mothers, we train them, teach them empathy, teach them how to, it's not a quick work, it takes some time, but at least when you tell them, let them know the danger it poses to the society. And they go through the courses that we offer them. Empathy, love. Such people don't love themselves as well. Self-love, self-care. We teach them journaling, teach them breathing exercises. We teach them how to take time out. We teach them how to volunteer for causes, to join a shelter and work with people that they see people that are more trouble than them. The danger, the hurt that they have, the negative that they have, the kind of unlearning. It takes time, but 3 months, if you ask me, they become better people. So signs are so many. They also ignore your achievement as well. Like I said, even if you win the Olympic gold, such mother will not even say anything. But if you make a mistake, if you give 10 things to do and you forget to do 2 out of those ones, she will capitalize on those things. The toxic mother is a threat to, I call them terrorists because they kind of wound those children's psyche. The children are wounded for life. They're damaged. I call them, they raise damaged children because they too are damaged from their other relationships. It's not only in single moms' households, even people with 2 partners, the mother can be a toxic person. Toxic to our children, also to our partner as well. But one thing they do outside, they're so loving outside. You won't believe that. Okay, then. So I'll try and round up now. I'll wait for questions. And I told you, Mo Family and Marriage Academy is open. I'll leave my handles after the talk. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Wow, thank you so much, Ms. Mo. What a powerful, powerful presentation. I mean, it shows that you really gave a lot of thought to answer this question of how to define toxic mother. And I love how you made it so clear. So we can identify these signs that we need healing from. And I love that your organization doesn't just identify the problem, but you're finding ways for healing, finding ways for transformation. That is so powerful. You're taking mothers and loving them and showing them. I love how you started off by saying that there's like hope for everyone, that we can unlearn different behaviors. And congratulations to you. And we just salute you for the wonderful work that you're doing with families and in your organization. So keep up the good work. Thank you so much for joining us. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, may I have a question, please?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, they have another aspect of toxic mothering that in my life I have observed. When I saw my mother was, being taken advantage of by my father, the adulterous practices, I asked her a question. I said, Mom, why are you tolerating that with these type of practices without even saying anything? And she said to me, son, you have to understand something. She said that a man does either 1 or 3 things. He either smoke, drink, or have women. And having women is the less of the 3 evils. So imagine me, a young man with impressionable mind, trying to understand in my mind that his adulterous behavior is incorrect, and this is my mother justifying it, right? So there's the part of toxic mothering I will describe. Secondly, I remember a time myself and you all had a was having a relationship, and I noticed she used to do things to irritate me, so I will be able to hit her and these kind of different things. And in part, we ended the relationship. When we got to talking afterwards, she informed me that if I used to slap her a couple of times, we would have been in order. Now, what she explained to me is her mother informed her that when a man, because after the mother used to be assaulted by the father, and she asked her mother, why is she tolerating that? And she said, you gotta understand something, my daughter. When a man hits you, it means he's jealous and he's in love with you. So it means that therefore, based on the fact that I was not acting in that role, she believed that I was not showing any kind of love towards her. So there's two types of toxic mothering. One happened to her, whereby now I have to relate with her. She wants me to relate and to show my love aggressively. And second one is the toxic mothering to indicate that there's a justification for adulterous practices because of this is what a man's supposed to be. So I'd just like you to address these aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Nicholas. You know, and I think we'll all agree that we have a toxic society that needs healing. We have toxic mindsets that need repairing and healing. So the dynamic is so big. So there's healing on so many sides. A toxic mindset, a toxic culture that needs healing also. That brings about, yeah. Brother Russ, so I just put that out there. Anyone else have any, before we go to our next speaker? Yes, Brother Russ.
Mike, I was just agreeing with you that emphatically. It's toxic families, and it gets passed on from generation to generation. But we also have to realize we all live in our culture, and all of our cultures have a toxic side to it. So it is a huge problem. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Yeah, so I'm so glad that even though we're actually pinpointing one problem, we realize that it's bigger than that. But you know, the truth of the matter is we have to start somewhere. And I'm so glad that Ola has this forum where we can actually have dialogue. We can have conversations. We know that this is not the only problem we have, but that's what we're discussing this today. And then we have to just pray and work for healing on all sides. So thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Mo, what a powerful presentation. Ishmael, and then we're going to go to our next speaker. Yes,
yeah. Mine's going to be short and simple. I think the one thing when you talk about toxicity, I think we have to break down the layers and the onions of what does patriarch mean in society, in different societies. So I think that's I guess that would be a future discussion. But what's the role of a man and what's a role of a woman? And I think it goes back to that definition of the patriarch in all cultures.
Thank you so much, Ishmael. And like Nicholas was saying, you know, when his mother gave him that comment, she was actually passing on, you know, what society taught her, which was toxic, you know, low expectations, toxic expectations. So it is a big problem, but as long as we're committed, there is hope. There is hope, committed to change. I'm looking forward to hearing from Rosalind Temple, Miss Rosalind Temple, on options for detoxifying, So we're gonna call Miss Rosalind if she would take the floor and introduce herself first, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Michael, you have known me for many years. We work together, and I am a single mother of sons in New York City. And I wish that I did not know specifically that my question to interrogate was options. However, I will share that from my experience. But first, I'd like to just say, state a disclaimer, and that is that I am not a psychotherapist. I am not a social worker. I speak out of the well of my experience as a mother. And I found this topic as I was thinking of that the intention of this panel, I believe, is considering ways of how we support mothers and how we develop conducive and productive, healthy parenting skills. That, and I believe that is correct from what I hear. However, I want to ask towards that end. Does anyone remember the dialogue in June entitled Shaming Our Boys, Exploring the Negative Consequences of Lifelong Effects? And what those were, and if what those takeaways were from that dialogue, which I'm sure there were some, if the intention is that we support positive behavioral change, growth, and healing, then whatever it was that was applied to this panel for how we shame boys, it would then also be applicable to how this title, which I find to be shaming and blaming of toxic mothers, can also be applied. That we do not grow in a vacuum. We don't live in a vacuum. As it was shared, we live in a world that has toxicity, and as there are drama queens, there are also kings. As was brought up by Ishmael, we live in a patriarchal society and culture throughout the world since the beginning of time.
And then is it lower?
And so, given that women have been subordinated, and for us, as we have been pioneering through all the work, all the years, and in our roles as women and mothers in our societies, we have been doing the best that we can with the skills that we have available to us. But do you agree that, as Mu was saying, we need to train, we are capable of change, and that we cannot give what we do not have? So therefore, to the blaming and shaming is not a healthy way to shun or to punish, but to learn how we can do better. Yes, as Bella spoke of mothers who do so many things, our roles are multiple. And whether you're an immigrant mother, wherever you are a mother. Wherever you come from, if you are a mother, living in a culture where you're learning new things all the time and dealing with even more challenges to that, given that we're still dealing with COVID, and only God knows what other viruses and plagues that are coming our way. But in terms of options, mental wellness is very important. The list that was given by Bella as well as the training that Moo described, what I would say is that we as neighbors and extended family and friends have to see the urgency now to extend ourselves, to get out of our little comfort zones and extend ourselves to women, to families who have children. Mothers can use a break. Mothers need some time out. And those of us who are experienced mothers, as I have sons who are now adult men, may step up, step towards those families in love and act in ways that we offer our assistance. Do you need a little time? May get to know the family, get to know a mother with children, and offer yourself, your time, your resources to read a book to a child. Get them off the screens. That was another option. We're doing this too much. To ask them to tell stories so that they can engage their imagination. There is a quote by Zora Neale Hurston, the African-American anthropologist, author, and filmmaker. She says that there is no agony like bearing an untold story inside of you. And we all have untold stories. We all then can garner and glean value from knowing those stories. So when we engage with people, even in the street, a common hello, which so many people have gotten so away from with the COVID, wearing masks, all of this separation, for us to offer our hello, to engage, to get to know someone else, to know a family with children. Each one teach one. Elder mothers can do that. We all have our stories to share. My story and what I offer as options is take time to listen to another, hear their story, ask them how they are today, and then offer them some support. It may be, may I read the child a story? Would you like to visit my home so people can see how you live and begin to build trust? And in that, you make one family at a time, one mother at a time, one child at a time, and one father at a time. Bring the family of humanity together. It is up to us as human beings to rise above the mechanization that 9-to-5 grind culture insists upon. It is up to us to learn how to rest and to be still, to listen and be observant, to offer what we have to one another. Take time to have FaceTime, digitally, but one-on-one with another human being.
I'm on Zoom. Can you stop making noise? Close that door.
Taking our time, slowing down, offering a meal, offering ourselves. Perhaps you know how to crochet, something with the hands. Perhaps you have a puzzle you can do together. Perhaps you can take a walk to the park, get away from the screens, learning to do a 5-minute meditation where you sit, soften your eyes and breathe. Connect to your breath. And doing that even not only with that mother, but as a family. Take a nap. There is a woman by the name of Tricia Hershey, who just came out with a book entitled Rest is Resistance. Between the lines, rest is resistance. This book in so many ways provides us with what can be a paradigm shift for all of us, mothers and fathers, so that this cycle of toxicity in humans can be broken and we can begin to heal ourselves, our families, our culture, and our world in love and rest. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that powerful, powerful presentation, Rosalind. Thank you for giving us such practical suggestions and recommendations. I see it as a call to action, what you just gave us. You know, it's one thing to identify the problem, and we need to do that so that we could bring healing, but it's wonderful when you could so eloquently give us some practical steps that we can do to reach out to that mother that has so much on her plate with compassion, love, and understanding. You know, I love your suggestion of hearing their story, hearing the story of the children, sitting down, looking into their eyes. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we will actually, Ola will put these thoughts together, this action plan, and we'll definitely share it with others. Thank you so much for your time and for your lovely and beautiful, powerful presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they would like to make to Ms. Rosalind?
Oh, Kumai,
Yes,
I
Ishmael.
think, yeah, in the
Mm-hmm.
warrants, leaving notes in the chat that she was muted. Perhaps maybe she wants to speak or has a contribution to make. My Edna Warras, please, are you still there to make your contribution? Maybe you can unmute her from your end, Okumai.
I'm not able to, unfortunately. I could just ask her to be muted. In the meantime, Ishmael, did you have a comment that you wanted to make in response to Ms. Rosalind?
Not a comment, but a question. Rosalind, that was a great, awesome. It was awesome. But my quick question is, how does mentorship play a role in detoxing trauma?
Again, I would say I am not a psychotherapist, a worker. I believe that it takes people. And so when you say mentorship, it's about not being isolated and letting someone know that you're there, that you offer yourself, your time, your energy from where you are, from right where you are, to meet them where they are. If you observe a young woman in the grocery store who looks as though she could use a coach, how do you approach her? And, you know, just say hi, you know, introducing yourself. If you have the resource, or ask them is this, you know, may I be of assistance to you? I'm a mother. May I be a mother to you? May I befriend you? There are things that I've done that have been unconventional, And I think it requires that we step outside our comfort zones. And sometimes in our gentleness and kindness, find a way into people who may be hurting, who have need and don't know how to ask. If you see someone may need a pair of shoes, you might say, what size do you wear? You know, I think I might have another pair that fits you. You know, you don't want to shame a person because of where they are and what they don't have. But what you do want to do is show them that it's okay and make an offering. Perhaps it's idealistic, but that's all right. You know, there were many people that that said, Jesus, who is that old man? What is he talking about? Naysayers, but love conquers all. I do believe that, and faith is what we need to get through these times and to meet people where they are.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You know, I just want to mention on a personal note, I've known Ms. Rosalind for over 30 years, and she has raised two well-accomplished African-American men in New York City. That is a feat. That is an accomplishment. And one thing that she did, which I would just like to add to the conversation, is Ms. Rosalind always reached out to men that she respected to pour into her sons. And she was never too proudful to say, I had to do it all myself. She actually would go out and reach and say, can you be a support to my men, to my young men at the time? And to see that both of her sons are so accomplished and so established, it's really a salute to her and for her dedication. And she always wanted insight from a man's perspective of how she could be more effective with her sons. I can remember giving her articles and she would actually thank me and say, oh yeah, the curl straw, yeah, I have to be careful not to do such and such. She was always welcoming insight. And I just want, again, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Rosalind. Ms. Faith, did you have something you want to say? I see your hand up. Faith?
Yes, thank you. I have a question.
Please.
And first to thank Madam Roserine for her great presentation. She may not be a psychologist, but she's a mother. She's walked the journey and she's very graceful, a lot of respect. So my question is, how do you deal with boys who are hurting and they are coming out of a broken marriage, yet you're a single mother?
Now, are you making reference to the relationship between the mother and father breaking up?
Yes.
Their breakup. I have been in relationship with my son's father, and I had to share with him that we did not agree on some things, that he and I were each our own people. And what we did as individuals was to let him know that we loved him, that we were there for him, that even though we lived separately, we co-parented, and that it had nothing to do with him. And to be very careful not to speak in any disparaging ways about the absent parent, and to always be respectful and keeping healthy boundaries, and remember that they are young humans who are developing into men, and they're as boys as well as girls. We have to be careful about how we posit and make deposits into their memories, their ideas about identity, because what we say about each other is retained by the children. The children are sponges, and they will ruminate on those things and question, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Yes, these children in particular, are always questioning as they are just forming and coming into who they are. So it's very important that we mind our words, mind our attitudes, and that we treat each one another, each one in love and respect. And should we have difficulties with that, seek an elder, seek a pastor, seek out a therapist. Mental health is so crucial in when we go through life daily. There are changes. We hope we don't have all the answers. So we need to know that we don't need to do these things alone, and to seek the support that we need from those who are skilled, trained, and experienced.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Faith, for that powerful question, and Rawson for that beautiful response. We've come to the part of our discussion where we have our keynote speaker, and I am honored to welcome our next speaker. And it's just such a privilege to have Dr. J on this call. He comes with a wealth of experience, over 50 years in the practice of helping men and women. He is the CEO and founder of Men Alive, and he's doing some incredible things. I'm gonna let him actually introduce himself. Dr. J, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mike and Ola and all of you. Clearly, everybody who has spoken is a keynote speaker. There's no doubt about that. And clearly, everybody who is here has a heart opened and a skill level to help people. And everybody needs each other, because we can't any of us do this alone. And together we can really literally change the world in our own way, in our own connections. So let me tell you a little bit about my beginning into this field. It started for me on November 21st, 1969, when I held my newborn son in my arms and made a promise to him that I would be a different kind of father than my father was able to be for me, and to do everything I could to create a world where men and women were fully engaged with their lives and each other, and fathers were fully supported, and mothers were fully supported. And that vision then was added to when my wife and I adopted a little 2.5-month-old baby girl, which we had planned to do from the time we were in college. You know, when you fall in love, you make some promises to yourself of what you're going to be like when you grow up and when you get married and have children. And we said, well, we want to have one child and then adopt a child. The world probably has a lot of children that might need parenting. And so we actually did that. We had a son and then adopted our little daughter, Angela. November 21st was my son's birthday. Angela was born on March 22nd, 1972. And so I have these kind of roots in many worlds, but one is my Anglo roots as a white European Jewish guy with roots in Eastern Europe, and my adopted daughter, Angela, who has roots in Malay, as she's done her genealogy, and I have 5 grown children, 17 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. So my my professional work really is nothing more and everything more than a commitment I made to my children and a commitment that I made to everybody's children, because what I know is we can't have healthy children in my world, in my family, unless we have healthy children in the world. And we can't have healthy children unless we have healthy men and women. And so that's been my work with Men Alive. That's the website that I started back in 1969, menalive.com. And my topic that Ola had asked me to address was how the called toxic, and I think we've all recognized, and I don't use the word toxic masculinity, toxic femininity, because what's so clear is that the behaviors and the attitudes that are clearly less than productive for ourselves and others really come from trauma, really come from the kind of experiences that we've had growing up in the families we've grown up in. And the families that we've grown up in, as numerous people have recognized, comes from a whole line of trauma that maybe goes back 6,000 years. I've done some studies. Where did it begin? I mean, there's always been humans for a couple of million years, and we all have challenges, but there's certain things that I think have resulted from a traumatic involvement with the earth. And there's actually been some studies that indicate that about 6,000 years ago, there was a climatic change where the climate was thrown out of balance. And the result of that was, generations of families who were living in an environment that was brutal and was harmful. And that legacy still carries us in everywhere in the world. And a number of people have pointed out that everywhere there are elements of trauma, and everywhere there are elements of courageous healing that certainly has been demonstrated by the people who are in this room, who have spoken, and thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world. When I started Men Alive in 1969, there really weren't a lot of programs that were focused on men and healing. And now there really are literally thousands and maybe millions. And part of my desire to connect with you all was to be able to share in this larger environment, this worldwide environment of health and healing. And so let me just share a little bit personally from my own growing up and recovering from trauma. My father had taken an overdose of sleeping pills when I was 5 years old because he couldn't make a living to support his family. And though he didn't die, he was committed to a mental hospital. And our lives were never the same after that. I grew up wondering what happened to my father, whether it would happen to me, and how it would impact the lives of others. And what I learned then growing up in a family where the mother, my mother, had to not only take care of herself, but take care of me and go out to work and then deal in an environment that was very, very difficult. And so I well know both what it's like for the mothers to take care of the children. And what I didn't know, I wrote a book. I've written 17 books. And one of them was called My Distant Dad, Healing the Family Father Wound. And what it detailed was my own history and some of the wounds that I experienced growing up with that absent father. And whenever you have an absent father, you also have an absent mother, because mothers are affected by what happens to fathers, clearly. And the impact for me was on 3 levels, or 3 different aspects of the wounding. One was to myself, my sense of self. When we go through that kind of trauma, and a number of you have said, we come to view ourselves as something wrong with us, something that there's not a rightness. We don't feel at home in our own skins because we feel inherently that there is something that is missing. And as children, we interpret what's missing as something I must have done. Why did my father have a breakdown? Well, the family story was that he broke down because he couldn't support his family. Well, I didn't know anything about the social inequities of growing up at the time I did, and the kind of difficulties that my father had. Turned out he was blacklisted as a writer in first in New York and then in Los Angeles and California during the Red Scares during that time, if anybody remembers or has read about that period of US history. But what I felt was that there must be something the matter with me. I must have done something wrong, perhaps, that my father couldn't take care of me well. So there's a wound to ourself, sense of who we are, the stories we tell ourselves about who I am as a boy, as a man growing up. The second wound is to our relationships. If you go to my website, mentallife.com, you'll see there's a little video that starts. It says, Confessions of a Twice Divorced Marriage Counselor. Well, I've been a professional marriage counselor for even more than 50 years. And through most of that time, I had trouble in my personal relationships. I had a marriage and then I had a divorce after we had 2 children. And then I got married again and I went through another divorce. And before I did it again, I wanted to see what's going wrong. I may have been professionally trained and have multiple degrees, but it didn't change the fact that my relationships were not working well. So part of the wound that we have when we grow up with, in my case, a mother who both herself was wounded. And then what happens then for me, and again, we all get wounded in somewhat different ways, but my mother's relationship with me was such that, one, she treated me like a little adult. I was kind of the man in her life. I was the guy she would take out to dinner. And I somehow felt like, number one, I had to take care of her like a father that she never had, which I never realized until I wrote my book, My Distant Dad, that my mother lost her father through death when she was 5 years old. So there's a wound that we, in a sense, get passed on. And I became my mother's little man way before I could be any kind of man. I was still a child. So our relationships get wounded. And the final wound then is to how we present ourselves in the world. We present ourselves, I found, in 2 related ways in the world. In some ways, we become depressed as we relate to the world. We feel deeply sad that there's something wrong, not only with ourselves, but the world. And we also are very aggressive. We have a great deal of anger that is built up in us. And that then, as a number of people pointed out, gets then passed on through generations. So how do we break the cycle? That's what I've been working for my life to see how we can do that. And one hint I got was that we can't do it alone, because part of the woundedness that so many of us have, we grow up, if we survive, and clearly all of us that are here did, is that we often take on, we need to do it ourselves. We need to somehow fix things And we all reach a point where we go, oh, I can't do this alone. So one of the things that I learned was that I needed to be in a men's group. I needed to be with other guys and kind of talk this through. And so I've been in a men's group now that's been meeting regularly for 43 years. A number of us have died during that time. One of us has Alzheimer's and is not able to be participatory, but the rest of us, the 4 of us that are still alive and still can participate, do. And my wife, third wife, I've been married now for 42 wonderful years to my third wife, Carlin. And she says that part of the reason that we've had a successful marriage is that I've been in a men's group for 43 years. And so that's affected our 42-year marriage. So I think we need to find our own groups, our own ways that we can be together. And the final thing I would leave you with for now, and I'm happy to obviously share and stay in touch with me through Men Alive, is that there's a poem that I'd like to share with you that came from a friend and colleague named Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And she wrote a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And she's a storyteller and a healer. And at a conference that I attended years ago, she offered this poem. She calls it Father Earth. And when I even heard that title, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. So Father Earth, there is a 2-million-year-old man no one knows. They cut into his rivers. They peeled wide pieces of hide from his legs. They left scorch marks on his buttocks. He did not cry out. No matter what they did to him, he did not cry out. He held firm. And now he raises his stabbed hands and whispers that we can heal him yet. We begin the rolls of gauze, the gut, the sutures, the grafts. Slowly, carefully, we turn his body face up. And underneath him, his lifelong lover, the old woman, is perfect and unmarked. He has laid upon his 2-million-year-old lover all this time, protecting her with his old back, with his old scarred back. And the soil beneath her is fertile and black with her tears. Father Earth, Clarissa Pinkola Estes. For me, this poem has spoken to me for many, many years because it speaks to a shift in consciousness that I think we need. I think a kind of consciousness was shifted when women changed the way they looked at deity from a God, the Father, to expanding that to the goddesses, the feminine that is inherent in the world. And I think we need to change perhaps the male view that recognizes the Father Earth and the woundedness that we have and the way in which the male and the female spirit need to come together. So clearly this gathering that we have today speaks to that for me, a huge energy of male and female spirit that we clearly are bringing to the world, that I think the world needs and we all need. And there are a whole host of ways that we can continue this work together. Mike and Ola know I started a recent organization to bring people together from all over the world. It's called the Moonshot for Mankind. And I invite all of you to learn about it and join us in a way that we can stay together in other ways beyond this time together. But thank you for really giving me the opportunity to hear you, to be among you, as all of us have shared our keynote from our heart speech, and my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren are blessed by what you put out in the world, and thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Jade, for that powerful, powerful presentation, for your words of wisdom. And like someone said earlier, I think today, that we've been broken in community and we need to heal in community. We definitely need to heal together. It's not just the mother, not just the father, it's all of us need to heal, humble ourselves and show love, compassion, understanding. And thank you so much for sharing that point about the power of men's group, you know, for men to get together, for a place of safety where they can be vulnerable, where they can share, learn from each other and be accountable to each other. That is so powerful. That's part of the work that I'm part of. And thanks for that confirmation. So we, at this point, anyone that would like to chime in with questions for Jade or for any of our panel, any of the participants, this has been a great conversation. I took a lot of notes myself. And does anyone have any comments or questions at this point? Yes, Russ, if you can unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. I would just like to invite you, Brother Mike, and Dr. J, the resources you have, could you put it in the chat box, or Ola, will you please coalesce all of these and let us all have it? Understanding the role of men's groups is critically important, and to know the resources and what you've done. Likewise, I assume the same thing is going to be true for women who need a place of safety to talk amongst themselves. There is a sense of a male energy and a female energy that needs that in order to grow as men, as women, and then come together as healthy beings. So whatever resources you have, I would love to be a part of it and be able to access it. Thank you, Mike. And Dr. J. Rosalind, I'm in love with you. What can I say?
Yeah.
I think we are probably about the same age. However, you speak from the heart. I think psychologists have a lot to learn from actual, real, experienced people. And you do the rest of us proud. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to say something? This has been an incredible conversation, and it's a difficult conversation, you know, because it's so easy to just blame one entity or to just point the finger. But when we can do self-reflection and introspective work on ourselves and realize that, wow, we all have a part to play in the healing of our society so that we can pass on a better world to the next generation. Yes. Welcome, Jonathan. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
Yes, please. I'm going to get ready to go to our last speaker, Brother Nixon. And then at that point, if you have any questions or comments, and like Brother Russ said, any resources that we have, please put it into the chat room. It's so important that we stay in touch with each other, that we continue this conversation. So we have our final presenter for today. I'm Brother Nixon. I'm healing boys from toxic mothering, and he is involved in MGOs and doing incredible work in Kenya. And so we want to welcome Siko, if I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Ola, for the invite. I got to know Ola through my friend and colleague, Faith. Thank you very much, Faith, for connecting us. I'd like to start by just giving a short story about myself. My father died when I was 17 years of age. I'm the first son. We were 6 in total. I have an elder sister, and the rest after me. We were 4 boys and 2 girls. My father was the sole breadwinner in the house. And therefore, my mother was a housewife. My mother took care of the kid, took care of us as kids. And when my dad died, my mother was left with a very big vacuum to fill, of which definitely she couldn't fill. And as children, as siblings, we saw our mother struggle to put food on the table, struggle to take us to school because we were all relatively very young. And one of the things that I vowed in my life was that I would never see a woman suffer again. That it would be my duty to ensure that, one, women's rights were respected when it came to inheriting property, that women are looked at not the way society wants us to look at them, but the way, for me as a son, I looked at my mother. And ladies and gentlemen, I had a great relationship with my mother. My mother was that, as she started healing, my mother was a very jovial person. And both my mother and I are considered the comedians in the family. So my mother would come to the office to work, at times just to buy me lunch. And my colleagues would wonder, Seko, how is it that you have such a good relationship with your mom? Or when my friends came to see me at home, they would see us, the boys, we are working together and helping our mom. And, we used to joke around, at times, we would hide her phone so that, we would have time she would have time to talk to us. And therefore, my friends ended up asking me, what is it about you and your mother? And then I asked them with a question also. And the question was, what relationship do you guys have with your mom? With your mothers? And the answers they gave me were mind-blowing. That, one, they have absolutely no relationship with their moms. That they have, that according to them, their moms are very toxic. And using my own little brain, then I started asking myself, why is this so? Only to discover, one, that most of my friends were being brought up single mothers. And either it was through being a widow or through divorce or just through, the man decided to run away. And the man was never there. And therefore, on many occasions, their mothers actually vented out on them and told them very terrible things about men and about their fathers. So the boys grew up knowing that, my mother is not a person that I would even sit and talk to. I have a friend who got married and never even invited his mother for his wedding. And that got me to do a lot of thinking. But apart from that, a few months ago, we held elections here in Kenya. And one of the presidential candidates mentioned that, there are over 12.5 million households in Kenya led by single mothers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, to me is something that is very, very dangerous. It's extremely dangerous, because looking at that, then in the next 40 years or so, if we don't act now, though we've started in our own small ways, we might end up not having a nation at all. Because the role of both parents in the life of a child are very important. I grew up without a father because my father passed on, and there was always, that urge to have a father figure. But that never came until very late in life, and that the person who became my father figure gave me a lot of balance. And therefore, it has been it was my concern to ensure that women were empowered. But about 5 years ago, I came to discover that women empowerment is very good. But at the same time, we are leaving a very big gap by assuming that the boy child is also taken care of. And ladies and gentlemen, that is not the case, especially in Kenya and Africa as a whole for now. And I thank God that, you know, there are groups already that have started the discussion, you know, on how are we going to improve the welfare of the boy child. And we're not in any way saying that, you know, that women empowerment is wrong. No, women empowerment is right. But each and every one of us, men and women, have a very critical role to play as far as the development of the child is concerned. So having said that, and knowing that I have a limited time to speak, what are the effects of toxic motherhood on boys? One is those boys end up having very bad relationships with girls, especially when they come to marry, and you know they relive their past, and they end up hurting women more than they were hurt themselves. So you end up in a cycle, in a cycle of negative energy, and that's something that really needs to be addressed. I'm happy that that Ola, you know, and Faith also, who is here, are already addressing those issues. Number two is the effect. Another effect is we don't have a toxic motherhood. The effect of toxic motherhood on boys is boys do not then come to know their role in society or in any relationship as men, because all you hear about men is negative, negative, negative. So by the time you come to discover that there are positive things that men do or about men, at times it's a bit too late. But you know, we always say that everyone can change and everyone can be given a second chance. Number three is the whole men and women play very different, distinct roles in society, because there are things that a man can do that a woman cannot do, and there are things that a woman can do that a man cannot do. But even before going further to explain that, is the thing about women is, one is your mother carries you in her womb for 9 months, and therefore for these 9 months you are entirely dependent on your mother. And your love for your mother, your love and relationship with your mother begins in the womb. By the time your mother is giving birth to you and you're being disconnected from her by the cutting of the umbilical cord, the first 6 months to 1 year, again, you are entirely dependent on your mother. And therefore, for men, the most important relationship you can have in this world is a good relationship with your mom. Because at the end of the day, it's your mom who carried you, it's your mom who birthed you, it's your mom who nurtured you. So this process of nurturing is where at times things go wrong. But things do not go wrong because the mother wants it to go wrong. No, things go wrong because at times it's circumstances and lack of knowledge, ability, and experience to interpret and ask yourself, you know, why are things not working? Because at the end of the day, a mother is going through a lot of challenges. So then, how do we solve some of these problems? I saw my mom become a mother to other friends, to my friends. And my friends would actually come home, and even when we weren't there, they would stay at home, and my mother would allow them to stay at home. She made sure that one, they had work to do. If there was homework to be done, they did their homework. And when it was at times that they had to go back to their homes, they went back to their homes. But she explained to them, that please love and respect your mother. What your mother is going through, I have gone through, but I just had the grace of God with me. And my children also did not, which word do I use? My children did not go astray. My children stayed focused. Another thing to solve that problem is, having the meetings that, from boyhood to manhood. For those in the West, for us in Africa is, previously before you got married, you would sit with the old men and they would tell you, this is what marriage is. These are your responsibilities as a man, and this is how you handle challenges that relate to manhood. The same applied to women. But nowadays we don't have that. And as a country and as a nation and as a continent, we are trying to revive that, because then it, as I said earlier, it gives each and every one of us knows their distinct roles. We know that we cannot survive without one another. That's for sure. So this issue of saying I am independent, I can be on my own, I do not. Okay, Uncle Mike, I've seen that you've showed me the time. But ladies and gentlemen, we are having a very interesting conversation, and this is not something that we should take lightly. I thank Ola for what he has done. I thank my colleague Faith Nashipai. Faith, we call her NBA. And I thank Jad. I thank everyone who has participated in this meeting. They say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Today, I think by the time I was getting here, I think we seem to have made very many steps. And I hope that this is the beginning of a conversation and a relationship that we will all have together to improve the family. And by improving the family, we will make sure that the world is a very good place to live in. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Brother Nixon, for such a powerful presentation, for your insight, for your passion, sharing your personal story. And we salute your mom. We salute your mom for not only being such an incredible mom to her sons, but to other sons, making herself available to others. And for your insight to see the privilege and the blessing that you had that caused you to ask questions and share that, wow, why, look what I have. And you were able to share your mom with others. Thank you so much for that powerful, powerful presentation. We're winding down. This is a conversation you just feel that we could just stay here and invite the world to come and join us, because we're sharing our heart, we're sharing our insight, and not only we're sharing the challenges, but I think in this conversation, we are having some wonderful takeaways, some wonderful inspiration of what we can do. And a lot of hope has been given here. So we're getting ready to wrap it up, but we definitely want those that joined and did not have a word. Ola, you want to call upon anyone or anything you want to say? Because this has been a wonderful gathering. Ola has been having internet. While Ola is waiting to talk, does anyone want to chime in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Uncle Mike. It's been an awesome and exciting conversation, I tell you. I have learned a lot. I've taken notes and mental notes. I have Dr. M.A. Payne. I'm sorry if I murder the pronunciation of your name. We love to have you give one or two input into today's conversation and see how we can benefit from your experience as well.
Okay, so I am not.
And where are you joining us from?
I'm from New York. I was invited by the dear Rosalind Temple. And I wanted to say, you know, in listening to the dialogue that is taking place, I do appreciate the movement toward creating spaces where healing takes place, and we understand that healing is needed. And I feel like this conversation was definitely part of facilitating that process. Listening to Rosalind speak specifically, one of the things I really appreciated was um, realizing the importance of time, the time that we render to doing things with our children. I'm an aunt, so I would say my nieces and nephews. And so doing things with, and I have multiple male and female nephews, 16 to be exact. And so, but the importance of time, of taking that walk, of doing 5-minute meditations, of completing a puzzle. And we may see those as simple, but the fact is that they mean a lot. When we render our time as human beings, as mothers, as aunts, as maternal and paternal figures, that is the greatest gift that we can loan to those who are coming up. And so I really appreciate that insight and that wisdom. And it is my prayer that you know, we continue to create spaces for healing through the rendering of our time and of our wisdom. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate that. Dr. Edna Wallace from Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, Jamaica rather. Dr. Edna, are you there? Now we're having problem with having audios with him. We thank you. Uncle Mike, there is this saying that says the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. You know, our moms, mothers, there are these hands. And sometimes these hands can be like what we have said today, can be toxic. But we can clean the hands. And that's what we have learned today. We've seen a lot of great presentations that has given us the guidelines, the roadmaps on how we can support and help mothers to have a clean hands to rock these cradles. I want to sincerely say thank you for all the presenters. But there's a particular Q&A section that I want Uncle Mike to as well wrap up in one minute. And let's see how we look at the coping strategies for boys that lives in a toxic mom home. Because looking at the statistic we got from Kenya, which is so alarming and shocking, how on earth could we imagine a country of 40 million people already having a mother-headed homes of almost 13 million? For Christ's sake, that's huge. So what are coping strategies for the young men who find themselves in homes where they have toxic moms? Can they on their own seek out transitional mothers? Or how do we create a space or a platform for such boys and for these boys? Uncle Mike.
Yeah, Brother Nixon said something that disheartened me, and I wanted to find out from him. He mentioned that the elders are not there. The elder men are not sitting down with the younger men to give them guidance and give them instructions. And I think we have to encourage mentorship, encourage the elders to stand up, to continue their healing journey through men's group, like Dr. J was saying, so that they can be supportive and they can fill in the gap where other men are not there with guidance, with mentorship. We have to realize how connected we are. You know, I like, as Jade was saying, you know, it's not just about his children being healthy. If the world doesn't have healthy children and there's a healthy community, it sabotages the work that he's doing in his personal home. So I think we have to realize how much we are really connected with each other. And as the men heal, we can be there for the younger generation. That's just my 2 cents of what I would like to add to the conversation. Anyone else have something they would like to say?
Yeah, the floor is open.
I'll just say one thing from my experience that ties in with what you're saying, Mike, is that, we know from studies, we know from our personal experience that young males will seek out father figures. And if we don't provide positive ones, they seek out negative ones, either through their groups, forming gangs of various kinds. And I think there are two things that I think we all have been saying. One is that the importance of fathers in the life of children, as well as mothers, is primary. And secondly, that we all can contribute our own male or female energy to the children in 1,000 ways, walking in our neighborhoods, all the ways in which we need to remember we each can make a big difference. We each are important in the lives of children. And we forget that, I think, sometimes when we're told that either men or fathers are not that needed, not that important, women can do it alone. Any things that tell us that children don't need and want males and females in their lives, I think is wrong. And that's what we all have to offer.
Thank you. Thank you. So on point. So on point. Anyone? We're winding down. We have about 5 more minutes. Yes, Brother Russ, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I thank you very much for the floor. Last month, the panel had as a discussion, preventing suicide in young boys. And we need to look at the fact that almost every one of these panels for months and months, we're all talking about the same thing. If we don't have the resources, we are committing suicide as families. We are committing suicide as nations and cultures. However, it is so positive what we're doing right now. This gathering of souls, this gathering of a good intention, and having that follow through with the actual work that, like Mike, what you're actually doing, Dr. J, Rosalind, whether it's got a certificate behind it or just a lot of experience, the honest giving of ourselves to our youth will prevent that any form of that suicide and of whatever level we're talking about. We're here to save our cultures, to save our human family, and to do that as a group, as joined in our efforts, is the only way that this is going to work. And I so applaud once again Ola, who I have known for less than 3 months, and I feel like he's my own son. So we are all blessed to know each other, and I really pray that this can expand, that we can communicate and feel very comfortable, emailing, texting, having private Zooms, whatever it is, to share, to ask questions, and to seek each other's advice, because clearly there's so much to learn from each of you, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Sister Faith, you had, madam?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. This is Faith Nashipai, the Men and Boys Ambassador from Kenya. I first want to appreciate all the oldies in the forum. I am learning a lot as a young lady, and this is really refreshing. I keep saying that if we just allow people to pass with their experiences and we don't give them an opportunity to share from their wisdom, then we are losing out on what God intended for humanity. About the boys and about the children, I think every one of us in the world has an opportunity to show, to extend kindness and grace to the child next door. It doesn't have to be your child. It can be the child who's next And I keep saying, for every man, we need to look at the next man. Every man needs to look at the next man. And I'm having a movement in Kenya where I am establishing a movement on the now man, the next man, so that you as Mike, the now man, can impact the next man, who is the boy in the neighborhood. And that way we build the capacities of both people. We build the capacity of the now man to be able to pour out and to mentor the next man. That is one of the things that we are doing as Thriving Communities Africa. We partner with Ola, and we are really happy that over the years, now going into the third year, we are really grateful that this platform is keeping alive and it is attracting quality and value as we grow. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for participating today.
Thank you so much. I just want to give a last comment of the importance of these meetings. I was in a men's meeting on Tuesday, and in that men's meeting, we discussed the impact of a mother's impact on a son in his future relationships. And it was a very in-depth conversation. That Friday, what I do on the side, I mentor men one-on-one. That Friday, I had a meeting with a young man. It was my third meeting with him. He was having problems in his marriage, and he just could not understand why him and his wife was fighting so much and disagreeing. He loves his wife. And because of the conversation I had on Tuesday, I said to the man, who was married for like 20 years and having serious problems, I said, for a moment, what was your relationship with your mom? And I want to share with you that as he started to reflect on his relationship with his mom, he literally broke down and cried. And the thing was, and I think someone said this, because he loved his mom, he respected his mom. And yet there was this conflict that this woman that I love was angry, stonewalled me, wasn't there for me, yet I loved her. And this conflict, he never had a chance to actually pour out his heart about it. I said, have you ever talked to, and he's there crying. This man is there, a grown man crying. And I said, you know, write a letter to your mom, whether you give it to her or not, how much you love her. And let's start the healing process with your mom. And I could guarantee it's going to affect your relationship with your wife. And it was like an aha moment, not just for him, but for me. So what I'm saying in conclusion, what I'm trying to say, just wrap up really quickly, these conversations are so informative. It gives you a larger perspective, a deeper understanding of the dynamics of what we're dealing with. And so I really want to thank everyone. I've learned so much by being here this morning. This is time well spent as far as I'm concerned. And I just want to thank Ola for creating this platform and for his passion, for his vision. And yes, we can change the world. I have hope. With God's help, we can change. Yeah. So that's it for me. Ola, I pass it on to you for a closing word, and I'm out. I think I did my part.
Can I just go back a bit on you, what you said, Mike?
Yes, Nicholas.
I can recall a friend of mine who mother made 3 children with his father, and then he left that home and went and get married to another woman, leaving her to struggle with the 3. Unfortunately for him, he resembled his father to a T. So what happened is that sometimes his mother used to just look at him and put 2 slaps on his face, and he asked him, "Mommy, why?" So, you know, the same situation that you just described, he was under attack from his mother simply because he bore in a very close resemblance to his father. You know, so I subscribe to the point that you've made.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many other dynamics. This is just one, but the more we have these conversations, the more insight and perspectives we get, we're going to get a holistic picture. So thank you so much. Ola, I turn the floor over to you for the closing remarks.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Mike, for the wonderful moderating of today's event. It's been a great honor to always have you with me and with us at DMAT. I have a lot of fathers in here, like Dr. Jed is here, my father from Arizona, Falls. I am so blessed, to be honest with you, to have all of you on this call. It means a whole lot to me. It's a word that I cannot express in terms of appreciations, because it gives me the energy to continue with this advocacy. And I will always call for your support, time again and again. You know, on the 19th of November, 2023, I've actually designed, or let me say we designed a program with my partner Faith in Kenya, actually being a man program that will support the development of boys and to start this initiative. So on the 19th of this month, in Nigeria, we'll be bringing men, like he mentioned, now man, next man, together with these 100 boys who will be mentoring for the next 9 months, because their life outcomes is more important to us, so that we can get something positive out from this life, from their lives. So we thank you for all the support. And in terms of network, we have benefited from you. We want to say thank you. From today's event, we're going to upload it for people to have who want to review it. And we're going to draw some synergies from it that we will share with you. So please kindly leave your email addresses, your contact details in the chat, so that when we're sending messages out for the next conference, we can invite you directly for the next event. With that being said, I find it hard sometimes to let you go, but I have to let you go because it's time. You have to do other things. But from all of us from Nigeria and all our partners across the world, we're saying thank you and thank you. See you in November. Oh, my brother Seko, I don't know how you speak that in your local language. That is a goodbye in Asante.
Waheri. Waheri.
Waheri. Thank you so much. So Faith,
Kwaheri na asante sana.
And the MBA. You know, you are the MBA, but you are a special MBA for me, you know that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Awesome, brother.
So
thank
much.
you.
We are advancing in accordance with God's law. Sir Nicholas Yearwood. Sir, where are you joining us from? I guess it's from Tobago. You're muted, sir. Sir Nicholas, you are muted. Please unmute yourself. You are muted, sir. All right. He's muted. Sir Nicholas, we can hear you. Can you hear us, please?